And welcome back to Sporting Memories. Now, any regular viewer of What Sport knew that 4 o'clock could only mean one thing. And for this week only, it's back. And it's 4 o'clock, so cue Kent Walton.
Hello again, Grapple fans. Yes, it's a while since I said those words, but tonight we've got a very special show for you, as we meet once more some of the great wrestlers who graced our screens every Saturday afternoon for more than 33 years. From the South, those old rivals Mick McManus and Jackie Mr. TV Pallow. From Salford, remember Mark Rollerball Rockwell. We've young Robbie Brookside from Liverpool, the immortal Les Kellett, and who could forget that masked man of mystery, Kendo Nagasaki. So sit back and enjoy British wrestling at its best, from the days when everything stopped at 4 o'clock.
Everybody who had a television set, 4 o'clock, wrestling.
If you're 30 and over, you know me. If you're under 30, you've heard of me. There was a lot of good-looking fellas, a lot of good bodies. You know, sex, in those days, to see a man's body was very rare unless you went to the beach.
It was Coronation Street with real baddies and goodies, blood, sweat and tears. It was an absolute theatre of magic.
Here we go with round 1 of 8 fives.
Seconds out, the first round.
Wrestling is as old as time. I mean, it's like prostitution. If you look at the hieroglyphics in the Egyptian tombs, they have drawings of wrestlers. Wrestling, as long as there's a big baddie and a good goodie, there'll always be wrestling. It's inherited in people.
Wrestling is a very northern thing as well. There's Olympic wrestling, which is what they do in the Olympics, and amateur wrestling, but the style of wrestling with submission holds and all that business is originally based from Wigan. So the people that came to the front of that were from Wigan, and they were probably coal miners originally.
We used to promote anywhere from the Guildhall in Plymouth to the Music Hall in Aberdeen. You name it, we run it. There isn't a hall in this country or in a town where we haven't put wrestling on.
Every town in England had a wrestling show in the mid-50s. You know, I wrestled 7 nights a week and never went to the same town more than twice a year.
Everyone in Manchester used to come to Bellevue on Saturday night. They didn't go to the pub, they get to Bellevue. Kids came to go to the theme park, the dads used to come to the Speedway, the mums used to come and watch wrestling. Saturday night here was unbelievable.
We're here in Liverpool city centre. We're here. It doesn't look much now, but you won't believe what a place this was. It was a 6,000 indoor seater. It smelled, it tasted, it felt like a fighting arena.
This is it, the Royal Albert Hall in the heart of London. I've packed it about 6 or 7 times. I sold it out once with Mick McManus, double price.
They had a charisma, they'd style, they had an individuality. It's like there's thousands of pop groups here playing in clubs and pubs all up and down the country, very glamorous young boys, but they've no more chance of making it because they're not original. These men were all original and individual personalities.
Billy Two River.
Billy Two River is a fantastic character. Mohawk Indian from the Conowagga Indian Reservation.
And another one. Double-handed chop, and here we go.
Big Daddy, of course, is my dear brother. Think a lot about him. I'll call him Shirley, because Shirley was his name, and only I used to call him Shirley.
That is it. Must be it.
Yeah, Cat Weasel. Funny, I didn't know what his name was, Cat Weasel. Gary Cooper.
Guy Haystack. Oh, God, what a man. He was a big, awkward, awesome character, and the public hated him.
Well, I don't know about you at home, but here at ringside, we can't hear ourselves think at all.
I think, like most people, I got interested through the television. I watched it on television when I wasn't playing football on a Saturday afternoon. And unfortunately for me, my father used to come in from work at approximately 4 o'clock, and I'd have the wrestling on, and he totally despised the wrestling. I used to just watch the different styles and the different performances of the wrestlers and the ability that they had.
Television is magic. I mean, there's no question about that, let's face it. It is magic. If you get on television, good, bad or indifferent, it can kill you stone dead, of course, at the same time. But invariably, if you're on the television in something, all of a sudden, from a non-entity, you are suddenly well known.
People stop me in the street. People have a go at me, hoot their hooters at me. I mean, it wasn't a taxi driver that didn't know me, you know. Good night, fellow.
So many millions of people that knew me and knew of me or used to watch, and consequently I should do lots of interviews and some advertising and invitations to places which I would never have gone, that was including Buckingham Palace and Downing Street and places like that. I would never have gone there, Met a lot of people that under normal circumstances I've never met. I was instantly sort of recognisable. For some, I still am in that sense, and it was very good, really.
All of a sudden they're on TV. There's a lad from the pub, all of a sudden he's on TV, he's a household name. And it was hard for a lot of people to live with that, including myself. I mean, I was thrown in at the deep end at 16, 17, on the TV, making lots of money, sports cars and girls, and running around. And it wasn't a rock and roll lifestyle. I mean, I was running around in those days like I was in Utopia, all girls all over the place and loads of money and all the rest of it. It was great.
We drew a bigger audience than the actual cup final. That was fabulous. And that was like official. That came out in the newspaper and everything. More people watched that than watched the cup final.
Well, we've only had one round.
Probably the hardest man ever in the wrestling business.
Les Kelly was a legend within the business. Everyone was scared to death of Les because he was so powerful.
Hard nut, a very hard nut. No one could take liberties with Les Kelly ever, believe me.
I was hard in this respect. I wouldn't stand any nonsense from him. That wasn't just in the ring, that was in the dressing room.
To watch him work in the ring, you thought, he's comical, he's funny, isn't he lovely?
Watch his feet.
Being there with him, I would sooner go in there with 3 wrestlers than wrestle Les. Because if Les was in a bad mood, bye-byes.
Nobody likes me. I'm talking about wrestling now. Nobody in the wrestling likes me. Not by any means. And I'm quite well aware of it.
Nobody makes a monkey out of me, boy.
Put Les Kelly on with Lee and Harris. Remember Ryan Glover from the advert Thai Food Tips? That would be a great match, because Brian was all that bouncing about up and down, come on, and all that, and Les would side, slap him off the face, nearly knock your bloody head off. Les had hands, fingers like bananas.
Let's see how strong you are, Kelly.
To the millions, Les Kelly was a funny man. But Les really wasn't. Les was a hard man. Hard in every way. His whole life was that of never giving to pain.
You've got to be able to scrap. That's like the ordinary fellas in the street. And if you can't do that, well, you might as well give over with some of the fellas.
You never talk to him. I never talked to him. I was in the job a long, long time and never... And that's true. I mean, people say, oh, he's joking. You know, he used to take his mask off and go and have a pint. That's not true.
Logan going for the mask. The crowd right with him. They want that mask off.
There is only one Kendo Nagasaki. I must put that on record. There's only one. He signs autographs, he doesn't speak, never spoken in public, ever, and that won't change.
Kendo used to get to a wrestling arena and had to have his own dressing room. He always had an entourage with him. He came in a Rolls Royce. He sat somewhere where no one could find him. No one knew where he was. He had people doing things for him. He was an elusive mystery man, and he is to this day.
Kendo, what kind of reaction did you get from the crowds when you were fighting? When did you first decide to become a wrestler?
The real making of Kendo was when he took on board a manager who was George Gillette, who became, of course, Gorgeous George. Well, George used to put all the fancy makeup on. The fans would really be ecstatic and go over the top because here was this manager portraying the role of a homosexual and the masked mystery man, and Kendo would go in the ring and he could iron him out.
Over the top of the flying tackle from the ropes and a neat cross press, and that's got him.
Depends where you were, what type of audience that were there. If we went to Solihull, the people used to sit there and gentle applause. If we went to Hanley-Stoke-on-Trent, these people used to be climbing in the ring.
Run up to the ringside and try to whack you, but I was a bit careful not to get too near the ropes. I couldn't help it at times, but you know, I used to stay away from the ropes as much as I could. But yes, one or two did manage to get a poke in the umbrella or whack with a handbag or the shoe or something or whatever they were, anything really that they were carrying at the time, I suppose.
The Pond's cream. You might remember this, but in those days the Pond's cream was in a glass jar. Can you imagine that in someone's handbag and they went wallop? Or the fingers on the side of the ring, wallop. Oh, women are spiteful, definitely.
I've been out there and shouted at them and gone up to the ringside. I'm not scared of them.
Well, that's why I get told off by the bouncers, telling me to sit down, get back to your seats. If not, they tell me to go outside to calm down.
I saw Brian Maxine in Glasgow, and the crowd got his legs, and he held on the ropes like this, and the crowd got his legs, and they tried to pull him out the ring, and his boots were laced up and they were tight, and they pulled his boots off, they pulled his trunks off, and all that was left was him holding on the top rope, and they were pulling his legs off, you know, and he wouldn't let go, because once he'd let go, he went in and the crowd killed him.
Where else can you go and shout at somebody and not get a smack on the mouth?
Someone said it had a great therapeutic value too as well, wrestling, because, you know, they could see in me maybe the traffic warden who gave him a parking ticket, the income tax inspector, the works foreman, the moaning brother-in-law or something like that, and they could really give vent to their feelings, and it was a great, you know, a relief, if you like, for them, great relieving of tension.
This one, anything at all can happen here, but anything. And I think it's already started. About to watch while he tries.
I've been asked the question 1,000 times. Is it fixed? Our business is not a bent business. It's not a fixed business.
I didn't say some of the fights were fixed. I didn't say that. I said they're fixed. Not some of them. You get my drift.
In all my years in the wrestling business, nobody's ever come to me and said to me, you're going to lose.
Let's come round here. Look round here.
Well, I've got a philosophy. There's only one thing straight in life, and that's death. Everything else has got an angle.
You know, people speculate and they say it's this and they say it's that. How many of these people have been in the ring? How many of these people have been dropped on their head?
How many of these people have had their arm up the back and the neck twisted around like that? It doesn't look nothing.
Don't ever get the idea, because it's a fixed business, that wrestlers don't wrestle. They're great wrestlers. There's great golfers. There's great tennis players. There's great billiard players. But it's easy to put a ball off course, on the course, in a racket, I'm sure. You know, it's a business. Where there's money, there's always angles.
What do you say to people who argue that wrestling is a fix?
The bottom line, and this is the important factor, they all watched it and they all enjoyed it. And that's really what it is all about.
Let's put it this way, look. There is only one straight business in this world, and that's wallpapering, and that's a put-up job.
And as I say, have a good time for the last time, I can't do better than to leave the final word to my good friend from Birmingham, the giant bomber himself, Big Pat Roach.
I think today is a very, very sad day in history. That is the history of wrestling, which has been in our parlours for many, many years now.
Television boosted the business. Terrific. But it also killed it, which it does to other things.
I think some of the hierarchy in the television people said, well, we want to get away from the sort of the cloth cap setup and go for a bit more sophisticated audience.
We are very, very, very sad that in the near future we will now no longer be in your front parlour.
My world collapsed. You know, I just started on television. I'd done eight appearances. Things were happening. Bookings were coming left, right and centre. I was out every night.
And he's got him. He's beaten the experienced man in just 1 minute 25 seconds of the third round. Well, how about that? That would have put a feather in his cap. Wonderful effort by young Rob Brookside.
We were, for a long time in England, the best. We had the best new boys. We had the greatest showman before America thought of it.
Well, there is only one thing to do, and that is the old proverb, go west, young man.
The present situation has left us no alternative but to go to America and WCW. So hopefully, very shortly, we'll be part of WCW. America, here we come.
Everything has a beginning and an end, doesn't it? Let's face it. We have a beginning and an end, you know. It's what you do in the middle, I think, which is important. And wrestling, at least wrestling made its mark. It made such an impression. It made such an impression. It didn't fall by the wayside. It wasn't like a flash in the pan. Oh, I'll put it on for a month, couple of months, and that's the end of that. Like, bye-bye, you know, try something else. No, it stood the test of time. 33 years, that's the test of time, let's face it. And during all that period, apart from maybe the last year, 18 months, it created an awful lot of interest for millions and millions and millions and millions of people.
And so we bid farewell to these extraordinary entertainers. To Mark Rollerball Rocco, now a successful businessman in Tenerife. To Max Crabtree on his farm. And to Robbie Brookside, off to seek his fortune in America. And of course, to Kendo Nagasaki, to this day, a man of mystery. Will we ever see their like again? This is Kent Walton saying, have a good week. Till next week.
Well, Reg, I know that you're a cousin of Jackie Pallows. It must have come as an enormous surprise to you to hear him say that it was fixed.
No, not really. He'd say anything. No, in fact, let's get it right. They are tough, tough guys. You know, none of us would want to take them on. And I've always felt if you ever had a straight, good wrestler against boxer, that the wrestler would probably win. Always upsets the boxers. Oh, yeah. Because once they got hold of a finger, that's enough. The boxer's not going to do any damage, but assuming they've got gloves on. But you watch it, Pallow, saying things like that. His real name's Guttridge, but we were so ashamed of him being a wrestler, we made him change it. But he was very successful, I must say. And
well, let's go back to
pantomimes anyway.
Let's go back to Kendo Nagasaki. I always remember them saying that if he was beaten, he would be unmasked. Well, whether he was beaten or whether he just retired, I don't know, but he is now going to be unmasked. You can see this. Nearly missed his toe. Just missed his toe with that sword. Now, look at this. What do you think of this, Saint?
Well, I mean, how long did this man go on with the mask? How many years did he wrestle?
I just don't know. I mean, it seems forever, because, I mean, he seems to be a legend.
So
the
he
ritual
never
burning
lost.
of the
He never
mask.
lost then. In all the years, he never lost.
No, apparently
to be on
not.
there.
No.
And then they burned the mask.
Yeah.
I mean, what nationality was? I'd like to know that.
I think his name is Peter Thornley. Well, I don't know where he's
Spaniard,
from.
eh?
I bet he was a Yorkshireman, I should think.
It sounds like, yeah, Yorkshireman.
But the bottom line
Great
is,
gimmick.
Mick
Great
McManus
gimmick.
was saying people watched it and people loved it.
Oh,
and I
great
mean,
entertainment.
that was the key to it. I mean, and it
4
was huge.
or 5 million
4
people
million.
would be watching that coming into the results service at about 4:45.
Yeah.
But
And the BBC hated it.
They hated it. Absolutely hated it.
Well, what the
And they
BBC
hated not having an audience of 4 million at that point, too.
But Dickie, when you look at what the Americans do now with the huge men that are wrestling in America, I mean, little Mick and all these fellas, they look like jockeys compared to
Yeah,
them.
they do.
That's
That's the problem. Yeah, I think the BBC could have easily have stolen some thunder by putting up the wrestling results, and these are for next week's wrestling.
Well, after the break, we'll be remembering football's favourite double act. We'll be back.
Well, I'll tell you, while we're up here in chilly New York, Jim Rosenthal is down in the warmth of Tampa.
Yeah, that Rosie. I'll be back!